Welcome to Life
on
Life's
Terms
with your host, Justin.
and Kenny.
We have the wonderful research hound, Laura, in today. But before and the topics that we're going to get into today is traditional diets, the idea or the ideology of diet, eating our emotions, finding nutrition through comfort as opposed to eating foods for comfort. But before we get into those topics, we need Kenny to do a shout out real quick.
Since it's always training season, what does your meal plan look like? Is keeping a healthy diet robbing from your palate and triggering unhealthy cravings?
Of course.
Keep on your A game and stop cravings at the same time with Onopoke. Onopoke is a perfect place to stuff your face with something that ties into your fitness goals.
Yep.
Try the miso salmon poke, spicy Thai salmon, or the albacore tuna poke on your choice of veg, quinoa, or rice. Eat healthy, eat right, eat Onopoke.
Would you like to feel like an astronaut?
Yeah.
Would you like to detach from this world, disconnect for a little while?
Every day.
Where's the best place to do this? Well, our friends over at Modern Gravity, of course. For only $39.99 a month, you can have an astronaut experience detached from the world for about an hour or so. For more details, please visit Modern Gravity's website at www.moderngravity.ca. Well, that's it, Laura.
Cool.
I think calling her a research hound does an injustice because she's very good looking.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't call her a hound. It's like...
Yeah, but it's like sniffing things out. You know what I mean? Like when you go into research, like real history stuff, and even things that are happening, you go deep, man, and it's a love. It's a love affair with the subject that you're researching. And I can tell you, talking to Laura, she's down with this whole diet nutrition thing. So if you don't mind, Laura, would you like to unpack where you came from, how you got into the field or the study of diet and nutrition, and we'll go from there.
Okay, sure. So usually I tell people that, I'm originally from my mom and my dad.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
Yeah. No, I grew up in Russell, Manitoba.
Okay.
So I am actually Métis and Ukrainian or Polish-Ukrainian.
Okay.
So kind of Bannock, Pierogi mix.
There you go.
And so I've been living in Edmonton for about 4 years now. Actually, 4 years, I think, today. And so my background... What do I say? So I'm a mature student at the University of Alberta. I am now studying nutrition, food science. So nutrition has always been a really big impact in my life since I was a kid. I really like nature, going out, plants, stuff like that. And I've always connected people, helping with them through my, love for food and nutrition, just to even when I was younger, I used to take care of seniors. And so a lot of the time, just bonding with them and bonding, with more, I guess, at the time, I didn't really realize it was, traditional diets, talking about them, cultural component, where I come, it's very heavily populated with Ukrainian people. Mm-hmm. So, talking about a lot of pierogies and...
sausage.
Yeah, kubasa. And
elk sausage, baby.
Yeah, garlic elk sausage. Even like home brew back in the day, it's just those preserving those type of techniques of having all these foods that not necessarily are healthy for you, but it's something that you could afford at that time, mm-hmm. right? So a lot of heavy cream based type foods. So Ukrainians, if you're thinking about, have you ever had baked pierogies?
Yeah.
I forget what the Ukrainian word is for it anyways. But yeah, and then you pack on the cream with the dill and just go to town. Or have you ever had beet rolls? It's kind of like cabbage rolls, but with beets.
Yeah,
and then a lot of and again, cream, fat-based, right?
Yeah. Delicious.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
You make the lazy ones, they taste exactly the same. Yeah. But there is a huge cream component to it. So if you're lactose intolerant, watch out.
We should bring it to the Ukrainian dinner over at St. Joseph's.
Okay.
They do a salmon, so it's I think $15 or something, and they do it's a salmon, lazy pierogies, lazy cabbage rolls, and all the pierogies you can eat, and it's a buffet. Mm-hmm. You can just go and...
When is this?
Once a month.
Okay, call me up. I'm game.
You got it.
Yeah, all the goods. At the same time, whenever I see those kind of foods, I'm like, oh, I know what's bad about this. I know too much. But
yeah,
right. And it's just I read too much. I know too much.
And my thought process is always So I'm going to go to the gym after this and not stop skipping until
but the damage is done regardless of how many calories or how much fat it is.
Yeah, of course it is.
It's what are the side effects of like the carb load and stuff like that, and how much sugar you're ingesting, and how much yeast buildup is that going to cause. And
like my approach to it, when I think of that, I'm like, well, if it's a once in a blue moon kind of thing, whatever, like everything in moderation, right?
Yeah.
I heard this guy one time, he says, God put us here to enjoy life, and if we can't eat French fries, then we're not enjoying life.
But is French fries actually enjoyable though? Like if you think about it, you think about where these French fries, where this production came from, the idea behind it. If you start breaking it down and seeing how detrimental to your health, and I'll say the food industry, how it markets things and kind of manipulates you into thinking that it's good, and then salt, sugar, fat are very addicting, and they know that. Is this actually something that is enjoyable, or is it a psychological thing? Mm-hmm. Right?
Well, when you dip it in mayo, it's even better.
You know what? At one point in my life, like in my late teens, early 20s, the first time I ever tried that, what is that? The mayonnaise at McDonald's, McChicken sausage.
McChicken sauce.
I was like, oh, shit. I'm like, this is trouble, right? Like, it is super addicting. I'm like, this tastes fantastic. Or you go to Wendy's and French fries and you dip it in your Frosty.
Yeah. Whoa, yeah.
Oh my god.
So I think, I think that's kind of crazy. Yeah,
I'm so hungry right now, and this hour just started.
Somebody was just telling me that too, like to dip my Wendy's fries into their ice cream, whatever the hell it is that they make. It's like, how the fuck would that be any good?
It's delicious.
Like, how would that be any good? And then I was like, you know what? If you say it's that good, it's probably not good for me. Mm-hmm. So if I start, it's like crack. You're not stopping.
Yeah, it's like opening a bag of chips, right? And you're just going to town.
Yeah, so I decided, no, I'm not doing that. I've learned through my drug addiction that I will try anything and I will go to an extreme. So I need not to do that with apparently ice cream from Wendy's and their fries.
Huh.
Yeah. I'm not willing to try everything. That philosophy fucking hurt me a lot back in time. I'll try anything once. Oh yeah.
I used to say I'll try anything twice.
Yeah, there's 9 months in jail for me and 18 for you. That's how that works out. Right. That's that fucking math, right? So let's talk a little bit about eating emotions. Let's go there. So Chelsea, our blogger, this was part of her topic this month. She brought this forward, and it's fits where I am too in my topic. So what's your take on eating emotions? Because we had a little bit of a conversation about codependence and eating prior to the podcast, and I think it would be beneficial also for the listeners to hear that one.
Okay, so my theory on it, and just research and things I've read, and I've accumulated over time with eating emotions. So you think about it, so you see a lot of commercial ads, right? And that's like the biggest, oh, okay, it's all right. Is it really okay to have a comfort food? I'm like, is it comforting to know that when I'm thinking about this, is it comforting to know that when you're eating these foods that it's very detrimental to your health? How comforting is that?
Yeah.
And why are you labeling it comfort food? Labels in itself is a whole nother. I'll get to that later with the labels. That I have an opinion based on that as well. But yeah, so when you're eating for comfort or anything, and you see like TV ads, and they're saying, you see a girl, and my boyfriend just broke up with me, and you're eating like a tub of ice cream, right?
Yeah.
Like, man, I'm not gonna lie, I've done it. Right?
Yeah.
You're just it's like, oh, you ever go? You get these what is it? Fiasco gelato. I get the. Man.
I've taken a 4-liter pail of ice cream, stuck it in the microwave for a minute so it was like half melted, and then pretty much drank it.
Oh, wow.
What kind of marijuana were you smoking? I have taken two McCain, those McCain frozen freeze cakes.
Deep and delicious?
Yeah.
Oh.
So I was high, right? This was early.
Get out of here.
Yeah. So
that's only how we usually do it, right? When we're like super high.
So I took 2 of them, and then I took I think it was Ben and Jerry's half baked or whatever.
Oh,
Put that shit in the middle, and then sandwiched the 2 cakes on top of each other. Mother of done in an hour.
Yeah.
Like that was done in an hour. Yeah.
And then I would have went and puked.
I just, because you're
Sitting there,
bulimic?
Sugar overload.
There has been a little bit of bulimia in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can come out and say it. You know,
I mean, you know
sometimes I've eaten so much and purged, and then been so sick that I've had to go make myself throw up, just be comfortable.
Well, as a fighter, we basically work out till you puke. You haven't worked out unless you're vomiting. Like cardio? No.
Oh, wow.
You need to be in the pool, man. There used to be a regiment where we would go into the deep end. It was like jazzer's size, but in the fucking swimming pool where you can't touch the bottom and you're treading water. And then all of a sudden the coach is like, okay, make your knees touch your chest. What? Like what? and then from that he's like, okay, swim back and forth. And then he's like, now twist your feet in the water so that it's like a figure 8 and tread.
Yeah.
Fuck, you have any idea? And you're sitting there, you're like, you motherfucker. And you just ran 5-10 miles before doing this shit. Yeah. You're looking and you're like, your head is bobbing and you seriously contemplate death. Death might be better than that pool in the moment. And then you puke and he's like, hey, get out. You're done. go dry off. We're going to the gym now. Fucking prick. That was the lifestyle. Yeah. So yeah, eating emotions. I think we've all been in that place.
Well, I think too, when you're talking about your fighting right now and, how much of it, you're putting in all of this effort, this dedication, to fighting, right? And so even now you're, having to have a lack of, a certain diet or be able to eat foods that are, nutritious for you. I'm not too sure how exactly the diet that you were on or specific people and, different training.
Yeah, it depends.
But it starts, I'll say, altering our perception or thinking towards what a relationship of food is like, right? And so I think, when it comes to emotional eating, we don't understand, really, the basis of it, our relationship with food. Like when I emailed you a couple of weeks ago and I was talking about, it's, where does this all derive from? If you think about it, like the social determinants of health, if you come from a lower income family, the social aspect of it, if you're talking about codependency, usually the codependency and the social aspect of it. There's also the attachment styles that, come along with that. What else we got? We got those abandonment fears. Like all of these things, just psychologically, that kind of combine with each other, it relates to our emotional eating, right? Because it's based off of that, whatever we're feeling like. And then, we're going to usually, most of the time when you're emotionally, everything that you guys said, ice cream, cake, right?
Yeah.
Crumpets.
Yeah.
Simple carbs. And these simple carbs, whether you're high or not, right? Depending on, if you're getting high because, you're upset, so you're getting high. When you're eating all these simple carbs, it's spiking serotonin production.
Just like cocaine.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And so, but it's for the time being, but then you're going to have this huge crash afterwards. It's not actually being able to synthesize throughout your body and being like, hey, it's doing something good. And so, but then, if you're manic depressive or whatever, then you're going to have that crash or anxiety. That sugar rush is going to make you more anxious, right? But in that moment, that time being, you feel amazing. Just like, the girl crying about her boyfriend, then eating a huge pail of ice cream. At that time, that comfort, you're watching it, advertise it on TV or, see it in ads all over the place. And so those ideas are projected into your brain. You're like, okay, yeah, that must be okay, right? And so when you're eating, a certain way for, to be comfortable and feel okay about that, is it actually making you feel okay or is it actually, more detrimental to your health?
So we talked about this on the last show about the commercialization of food, right? Like in the context of we get produce now when you shouldn't get produce. Like it shouldn't actually be in season, but we get it. And the reason for it is because they're trying to push or they're trying to basically appease the commercialization of the Western world by giving us the fruits and vegetables that shouldn't be in season at the moment that they're not in season. Like if you read Les Miserables, they talk about in the book how you're rich if you can afford a tomato in January, right? Because somebody must have held that. Back then they didn't have like the growing technology that we have today. But what I find interesting, what you're talking about commercializing the emotions, is how the industry especially the ad industry, has attached emotions to food.
They attach emotion to everything. That's how they
For
sell
sure,
it.
that's how they sell it.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I'm getting to here is, does it become a nature or nurture thing? Because naturally, we are attracted to food that is kind of, or probably more likely to be healthy for us when we're kids. Like when you're a baby and you have that baby food, you kind of want yams. You know what I mean? Or some children, like they want those things because they feel the nutrients of it right away. Yet when we grow up, you see a Big Mac burger on the fucking TV and you're like, God, I want that so bad. Right? Mm-hmm. So like, is it that they're attaching it to the emotion, but is it a nature nurture thing where they're kind of like, they've almost hijacked your natural ability to want something through your emotion? You know what I mean? Like it's almost like fuck, we're going to make you crave this, even though you know damn well it's not good for you, and you will do it, even though it's not good for you. But yet when you were a kid eating yams out of a jar, you're like, fuck, this is the best shit ever.
Well, it's easy for us to point the finger at, like, you know, all the big corporations and stuff like that. But like when it comes to like eating emotions, I have a question for you as a professional and educated lady. Eating emotions. What about the emotions of the animals in these slaughterhouses and the GMOs and the steroids and everything that they're getting and the stress hormones that are rampant in their system when they're being killed, and then we eat those? What is the effect of that?
So with factory farming, I actually just watched this documentary. It's there's this book called Eating Animals, and it's on Netflix, and they turned into a short documentary of some of the stuff on there. And so this guy's like a philosopher, I'll say, of like food, kind of nutrition. But anyways, so with factory farming, yeah, it's so detrimental to their health to the point, like they're even, you know, there's antibiotics. Most of the production of antibiotics in the entire world are going into factory farming. That's where all of them are, right? And so if you're looking at from that kind of perspective, you can see that a lot of these antibiotics were becoming more resistant, or the bacteria is becoming more resistant to everything because these animals are getting injected into it. And that's when there's like that mRNA. So a lot of people that are getting sick, there's no antibiotics for them because of all of these animals, just in that is alone with factory farming. And then the mass production. Like I was on campus the other day and I was talking to an elder, and then this other gentleman was coming in and we were talking about chicken. She's like, yeah, like it feels weird when you go to the store and they're talking about like Lilydale in the area here, and they're pushing on the chicken, and like, she couldn't describe, and he was like, yeah, it feels like, you know, it's like sponge. She's like, yeah, and that's, you know, factory farming. You know, all these animals are being mass produced and, you know, and confined in this area where I'll say, yeah, there's, you know, it's dirty, the environment that they're living in, you know, like there's so many factors to it. Sorry, my brain's running like a mile a minute here. Anyways, yeah, like no one understands or realizes how detrimental that is to your health, right? What are they eating? So whatever that chicken is eating, you know, the nutrients that they're getting, now we're consuming. If that chicken is growing and they're mass producing it and, you know, within, what is it, usually like 3 to 6 months, I think, and then they butcher it off, all of that food, and it's mostly shit food that these, you know, chickens are eating, now a lot of people are. But if you look at it from a traditional diet, a lot of traditional diets, well, guess what? You're going into the wild and you're hunting an animal. And, you know, if you're talking about more of a, you know, traditional diet and, you know, indigenous person, you know, there's this very spiritual aspect to it, right? Because everything is interconnected. And so there's that holistic approach. You know, you're giving back, you're saying thanks. And, you know, back in the day, even with the buffalo, they would use the entire buffalo. Nothing would go to waste. And now it's just like everywhere you go, like how much garbage is in this world, right?
Oh my God, I worked at the dump.
Yeah, like it is disgusting. Oh. It is disgusting. Like I even think it's disgusting what I eat and like, or what I eat, what I throw away. And most of it is just like compost. Like there are compost programs in the city here that, you know, they're trying to emphasize on do your own composting. But if you live in an apartment, it's like, hey, I'm just going to put it in here and like throw it in the back.
Yeah, exactly.
Like where I live, there's like a little walking area and then like a fence. So it's like, just go throw it over there. Like, I don't know what to do with my compost now. But yeah, with traditional diets, think of it this way too. So you have your factory farm cow, and then you have a traditional diet where you're hunting an elk. And this elk is eating all of these organic, untouched foliage, right? They're running around, and then you have this cow that's like a fucking tub of lard, sitting there. And, they're putting, injecting antibiotics into it, all of these things. And then, these big corporations are going and they're selling these products. And, everyone's like, oh, yeah, it's okay. But when it comes down to it, what you were saying, Justin, a lot of it is self-educating. Mm-hmm. It comes all the way back to self-educating. Wherever, if I think about it like the government will say one thing, but then, there's all these other people that are fighting and they're feuding to be like, no, that's not cool. That's not right. Because they self-educate themselves, right? And instead of just listening to,
what we're told.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Well, and I think that also ties. So we obviously touched on the traditional diet, but I think that also ties into the fad of diets and the ideology of diet. And the reason why I say that is because, so on the last show, we actually talked about the sustainability of hunting and why that's much more sustainable for us than farming in reality. And so as a hunter, I have hunted not in Alberta, but in another province. And so my go-to meat was always moose, because geographically that was the largest kill that you could get for the most amount of meat that you could get that would sustain you for a long period of time. Yeah. And so what we were actually talking about on the last show was mange is so bad now because people are not hunting. Mm-hmm. And the reason why they're not hunting is, and I'm not going to get, I don't want to get on a pulpit and start pointing fingers, but I will say that this issue of animal rights and hunting is bad, and conservationists are assholes. They're just raping and pillaging the woods and all this stuff. It doesn't allow for men our age. They almost become scared to go out there unless you come from a small community where hunting is almost a part of that community. Somebody coming as a city slicker saying, shit, yeah, maybe I will go out on a deer. That's probably, and I'm not trying to generalize. I'm just saying a majority or the ideology that comes from that, from the city slickers, so to say, they're not inclined to go out, 500 or 600 kilometers out of town and see what it's like to go gut a deer and how much yield of harvesting you get from that. And you can sustain your family for an entire winter off of one buck deer. Yeah. You know what I mean? People just aren't inclined to do that. And then all you hear again is in the city from activists is, you're so wrong to do that. Like I've seen deer buck, and I'm like, okay, so that animal was harvested and used, and at least its buck is still being used. It's not about fashioning fur. It's about you didn't waste it. You know what I mean? Like that's where my mind goes. Yet it becomes like this big taboo thing that you should have fake fur on your hat, as opposed to like a beaver pelt that you actually harvested and used. We've gone so far away from the mark. And I think that this fad in the ideology diet, like I'm a vegan, I'm a vegetarian, or I'm just keto, you know what I mean? And it becomes so fucking tribal that people don't see that there's a wide variety of nutrients that you need in order to live, right? So I don't know what the recourse is going to be, but it's pretty detrimental where we're at right now. We're going to lose the natural resources that we have if we don't go out there and harvest them, because mange is going to take them all out. I mean, we have does and cubs that are dying of mange. They're not even becoming mature yet. It's serious. It's a really serious issue.
Well, I think along with this issue too is, if you look at it, because a lot of us aren't self-educating ourselves, we're listening to what social media says, and that is a huge codependency factor. Yeah. All I can see is it's circulating to a lot of development behaviors as a child, whether it was some kind of abandonment issue that someone ended up inheriting, I'll say, or not I guess kind of, or, the codependency factor of, maybe a traumatic childhood, right? Like developmental trauma. I research a lot about that too. And, a lot of developmental trauma, a lot of people, and they're, going into adolescence or that, because, you're kind of in your stage where you are, everything that's interaction, your brain's starting to, kind of like everything around you, emotions, behaviors you're picking up on. And then, as an adult, if you have depression or anxiety or some kind of mental health related illness. I don't like the word illness, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, and then, that all relates to how are we educating ourselves, right? So you got to look at, even emotional eating, you got to look at where it all stems from, right?
Yeah.
The root of it, not just, oh, this is why it is, so I'm going to take this pill and it's going to make me better. No, it's just for the time being, right? No, you got to get to the root of it.
Yeah.
Like, my mental health journey, I have to figure out where everything comes from. I come from, families with intergenerational trauma, right? Being Métis, I have a lot of family members that are still suffering with, issues around just even, just being Métis, right? Because when you're Métis, you fit into three worlds,
You fit into three, but none.
Yeah, right? There's the First Nation world. There's Métis, and then there's the white person world, right? And yet, like,
I was at this poetry night the other night, this Indigenous poetry night, and I'm Métis too, and I thought it was quite funny. This guy made a pretty provocative statement that was, there was a lot of truth in it, and it was empowering for Indigenous people. And then this person in the back goes, "What about the Métis?" And he's on stage. He goes, "Yeah, what about the Métis?"
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where was I going with this?
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Now I'm like thinking about that. I'm like, yeah, it's true though. Like even doing research. So I do a lot of research on, traditional diets. But then there's a dietitian at the Métis Nation of Alberta. There is no research on traditional Métis diets or to be able to help Métis people, with their diets and, a lot of health complications or chronic illnesses and where that all stems from. And if you're looking at it from, Métis people, what they had to go through and relating it to, modern day society now, how do we go from here? How are we able to bridge that, be able to help just Métis people in general, right? And so, yeah, a lot of my research too is, nutrition related to traditional indigenous diets and pulling from that, a lot of Métis.
Have you done like DNA testing to find out like what you should and shouldn't be eating?
No, I have not.
So I just found a lady, and I'm scheduled for the 26th of this month to go get it done. A friend of mine referred me to this place, and I'm really excited because, like you said, there isn't anything for Métis people. So it's like all I know is that my mom got, she was addicted to carbohydrates and would often just live off toast for like a long period of time, and now she has rheumatoid arthritis, and that's probably from inflammation, from too much yeast buildup, right?
Yeah. Well, inflammation too, like you got to look at it, everything stems from your gut health.
Yeah.
Right? So
leaky gut syndrome.
Yeah. So and leaky gut ties in with depression. And with depression, well,
Absolutely.
Then you got the codependency, right? Same with anxiety, right? Codependency and everything. And then just once again, what's the root of it? But anyways, yeah, with inflammation itself, if your gut's out of whack, if like, whatever, if you're stressed out, your stomach's going to be affected by it, right? And then so, pardon?
Oh, I'm going to bring that up. So I have to go talk at, I signed up at the Métis Association here to speak about addiction and mental health.
Okay.
And I'm actually going to make sure I bring that up this time because for years, like my gut health was terrible and I had no idea. So like I would always have acne or skin issues, anger issues, depression issues. I was like always on drugs from both ends of the spectrum, pharmaceutical and illegal. And like I wasn't able to, like I had ADD, like, but never like diagnosed it because I never even bring it up. But even to this day, like I can tell ever since like I went and got a whole bunch of colon hydrotherapy done and I got my guts cleaned out and then I replaced the probiotic. Like I went 10 times to get cleaned out and like the most horrendous shit came out of me. Yeah,
literally
horrendous shit. And so after I got that done though, like my mental clarity increased tenfold. I was able to concentrate. I was able to read a book. I was able to do things that I was never able to do up until that time. Like I was always like a C- student. And then once I got this done and I went back to school, I was able to bring my marks up to like 75%, like slacking, like not doing fuck all, right? I was able to have 75%. And like when I apply myself now, I can do it because now I can focus. But I've noticed that since I got that done and my eating habits were really good for a while, I was dating a holistic nutritionalist. She taught me a whole bunch of jazz. But you know, in time, like I'm starting to get lazier again and eat out more and Jones for sugar. And I'm noticing my attention is getting worse again. So I'm actually planning to go back and do some more colon hydrotherapy right away. But I got to hit it at the root, and that's eating.
Well, my thought behind it when you're like, you know, you're saying that you're feeling tired and kind of not wanting to, you know.
Lethargic.
Yeah, lethargic and stuff like that. Why? Where is that coming from? What is going on with you that is bringing this on where you're not wanting to be diligent with your diet, right? Where you're kind of moving away from that, right? Just like with money, like I'm taking this workshop right now at the relationship with our finances or whatever.
Okay. I need to take that too.
And it's, and it's the same
I'll give
thing.
you my 101 course.
and it's all about a relationship with it, right? And where that derives from. And, you know, what is the lady in that speaks about or asks us, what is your, you know, when you think of money, what is your first interaction with money, right? And as a kid, you know, a lot of them, you know, had, you know, this is with a bunch of, you know, Indigenous women, right? And so it's a lot of them, you know, my parents are hustlers, you know, they have gambling. One, you know, back in the day.
You're talking to two ex-gangsters right now.
You know, one.
Shit, you know, we know the hustle.
Right? And so that there, you know, just relationship with money, right? And so when you're thinking about with food, what are you distracting yourself from? Like codependency is all about, you know.
Hold on, I was never a gangster. I was charged once, so I was never a gangster ever. Anyways, sorry, I had to preface that, or else I mean we
yeah,
we'll continue on. Don't need a 5-year bit now, you know.
Yeah, gangsterism is a charge.
Yeah. It is. Yeah, it's never a gangster ever. Neither was Kenny.
No.
Yeah, it never happened.
No. But yeah, back to when you're talking about why you're not, you know, being consistent with your diet. Is it something that's going on with you, which is you're distracting yourself? If you're working on codependency right now, maybe it's because you're distracting yourself from wanting to be successful in whatever that is in your life, right?
Oh, I've often said that I hit a glass ceiling all the time, and like it's like I'm always on the verge of like things blowing up and like, you know, that big break happening.
So yeah, so I'm going to interject with the life on life's terms, like motto that we have. It's the 4 goals that we do every day. So we wake up, we get humbled. Next, we get physical. So physical activity. 3rd, emotional. And then the last one is to be of service. Being of service is your job. Okay. Like could be anything. You're providing a service to the world. So when you were talking about hitting that glass ceiling, right? We always say it's your responsibility to show yourself how you love yourself every day. So these 4 goals are, 1, you're loving yourself by humbling to whatever you think is like the bigger picture, so to say. Could be your higher power, whatever, God, Christ, whatever you want to call it. Then from there, you get to incrementalize your physical goal that day and be able to achieve it, right? So you almost have a little bit of control over that. Then your emotional stability kind of seems on a plane because you're a little bit tired. You're not going to be so erratic with everything. Then when you go into your job and some shit goes sideways, your emotional stability is in check. You don't have to lose your shit. And so what I found was when I was ever confronted with some sort of adversity, what I would rely upon that day is, yeah, but Justin, you know what you did today in the gym? You did something in the gym today that you couldn't do yesterday. So if you couldn't do that yesterday, can you get through this today? Fucking rights I can. It gives me that encouragement. It almost gives me that proof in the pudding that I've done one thing, I can do the next thing.
But
and
how does that keep us away from the Big Macs?
Well, this is what I'm saying is, again, this comes down to the respect of how you're loving yourself. Because for that one blip, and that saved me many times. Like I literally have, so I've gone I was 4 years without fast food from McDonald's or Wendy's or anything until just recently. And it was a slip. And it was a pretty shitty day. I felt really alone. Like, I even wrote it down because to me it was almost like a food relapse. So I wrote it down with the emotional state that I was in, just like as if I was to relapse smoking, right? I write it down and I'm like, fuck, this is what was going on. And I know if those emotions are getting built up, well, my goal is not, I then go back and look at, well, did you knock all that shit off that day? And I can tell you the one that will always kill me is humble. If I forget to humble myself before I walk out the fucking door, I'm done. Something is going to happen. And if I don't get physical activity of some sort, even if it's on a rest day and I do rest recovery, like go out for a walk or some shit, something before I'm fucked. Like the day is going to be bad and I'll find myself 2:00 going, shit, I really need some chocolate. God damn it, I love those fucking peanut butter deep dish fucking Reese's Pieces. My God, those are the best things in the world. 900 fucking calories.
I had one of those the other day.
So, but as soon as I do that shit, I write down right away what my emotional state was in. Because again, you and I have had many conversations on self-sabotaging. That's that glass ceiling.
Yeah.
So the only way that we get past that self-sabotaging, and I mean, I'm guilty of it too, but the only way how I've ever seen myself get past that is to show that I love myself first. I have to do that. I have to because for a long time in active addiction, or even in my youth, it was always providing for my mom in that codependent relationship again before I provided for myself. I would provide my mom with the emotions that she needed to feel loved and cared for, and she would do this shit for me as well, but it was a very sick codependent relationship. And I just perpetuated that through my entire life, really. Right? So when she wasn't there, well, guess what Justin likes the most? Tourtière. So like meat pie is a resemblance of my mom. Poutine is a resemblance of my family. Like, and that's the other thing too, is what I'm starting to recognize is we would have the big Sunday meal. And what do you think we had for a big Sunday meal? It was like pasta, or it was fucking pizza, or it was something that wasn't healthy really for you. So those patterns, as soon as I see that great big bowl of pasta with the meat sauce and the fucking Sunday gravy and oh my God, I mean, I might as well be back in Timmins with the rest of the family.
I'm going to my mom's house tonight, actually.
You know, when you're speaking of that, like a bunch of things came to mind, and I'll start with this one, like separating the emotions. So I find with myself, there's people and there's situations, but we tie them together. Mm-hmm. So those emotions that you're, with the foods that you're eating, you're associating with your mom and the experiences.
Yeah.
Those experiences are separate from the relationship that you have with your mother.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, but we don't think about those things, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're going through a breakup, and you're like, oh, this person, I love them so much. I want to be with them for the rest of your life. And like, probably not, but the situation that you were in is kind of like, to me, oh, shit. Yeah, okay, that's why I'm tied to it. And I haven't worked through that yet. And so you're being codependent on that person, and yet it's the situation that you're kind of reflecting back on, right?
And so I'd like to preface real fast as well in addiction. I work a lot in addiction with people. So does Kenny. When we see somebody relapse, it's because they had the perfect excuse to relapse. Just like when I relapsed with my fast food, I had the perfect excuse that I was lonely. I was feeling all by myself. I needed to take that Big Mac, jam it in my fucking mouth, and feel guilt. That's what I needed in the moment. But that's the reality, right? As shitty as that is, I mean, I realized it after. I was like, well, and guess what? I fucking knew it as soon as I was in the cocksucking car, sitting in the order line. I knew as the words are coming out of my mouth, a Big Mac, quarter pounder, fuck all of it. Fuck it. We're not just doing one, because when Justin does something, he hits the ditch and he hits it fucking hard. I mean, the pavement is just a ramp up to fucking smash the fucking ditch as hard as I can, right? So yeah, but we see this all the time with addictional behavior. It's the perfect excuse to relapse. It's like every time you have a cigarette. Well, why are you having a cigarette? Well, and then you ask the person, do you love yourself? Well, sure I do. You know what? Your actions are dictating, and this, maybe tomorrow you might, but right now in this moment, I think you want to love yourself. but you might be missing something there. And I 100% agree with you.
So I've been reading a lot Adler and psychology.
Yeah.
And so with Adler and psychology, and if you kind of compare it with Freudian, so Freud is pretty much like cause and effect kind of dude.
Yep.
So I'm really anxious. I'm not going to go hang out with my friends today. Right.
Yeah,
Or go
yeah.
to like a social event or some shit like that.
Yeah.
If you were to approach it from Adler and psychology, he's focusing on understanding that fear. And then so Freud and a lot of us, and what I find in society itself, is that we make an excuse and provide a symptom. I'm not going to go hang out with my friends.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's your excuse.
Yeah.
And to top off that excuse, you're going to, on the cherry on top.
Yeah.
You have that symptom. I'm anxious. Or you could be like, yeah, I don't really feel like, if you're going to a social event or even with your friends, I don't feel like being judged. I don't feel like being judged right now because it makes me feel anxious.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's the fear, right? But a lot of us make those excuses without understanding the fear. And then, then those emotions come into play. And if you're going back and talking about nutrition and, you're emotionally eating, what is it that, that fear with it, or, your relationship with food? Why is it that, and where is it stemming from? Right. And so it just ties in with everything. And so too, when you're talking about emotional eating, all I can think about is, are you lacking certain nutrients? Therefore you're craving others. Like with me, if I'm craving carbs, I'm like, I'm not really a big carb person. Like I don't really need that much. And then I'm like, well, am I hydrated?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're dehydrated, most of the time you're going to start craving things that you don't need. Right. You're not. Are you hungry or are you thirsty? Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's just simple things like that. Number one rule that I always follow is don't drink your calories.
Yeah.
Huge. And then I wrote down here too, when you're talking about, codependency on fast food. Right.
Yeah.
Like codependency is huge, and not many people realize or understand it. Right. And the more kind of go into more depth with it and just research about like with myself and my codependency issues, social media is huge. How many times people checking your phone? Like you're picking up your phone.
I actually, I put mine away for the show. Like, I don't even look at my phone like for the show. Maybe
like how
once
many
or
times
twice.
a day do you look at your phone? Right.
So I'll preface this though. For the podcast, that's a big part of the show, right? Like, I don't know, like I probably pack into Instagram 4 to 5 hours a day, and that's for promoting. For the most,
work, right? If you're saying it's work related and you're doing it just for work, but how many times are you actually going and looking on the Facebook or texting or waiting for that person to text back?
So you want to know? So Facebook, if it wasn't for the podcast, once a week on Sunday. And I might literally...
On the Lord's Day?
and I might literally spend like 15, 20 minutes. That's it.
Yeah.
Instagram, I could, while I'm taking a shit. Every time I'm taking a shit, I kind of just scroll through because, why not?
Man, I always found
Remember
Instagram
back in the day when we didn't have phones and you'd have to just think while you took a shit?
My friend's dad back in the day, like I'd always go over to their house and on their can they'd have like the old school, either a book or Game Boy.
Yeah,
my friend's dad would be on the shitter for 2 hours playing his Game Boy.
Yeah. And if it's a good book, next thing you know, this is how you know you need to get up. Your legs are asleep.
Yeah, you got that sore ring on your ass.
Yeah. You're like, it's time to get up. Shit. Maybe I'll just finish this in my room. Not the shit. The book. Yeah. No, and you know what though? I think in the same respect, when you were talking about the Freud aspect of, this is the way how I feel, therefore I'm not going to go do that. I think that's a lot of people actually resting upon their natural issue of not being confrontational with their own self. On the other end of the spectrum though, so like I practice an AA program. I'm a 12-step big book guy. And the biggest thing, like I've said this to Kenny many times on the show, look, I'm going to tell you the hard shit, not because I'm trying to beat you up. It's because I love you enough to stick around, and I'm going to go and walk you through the hard stuff. And then eventually you're going to go have to do something hard on your own. I'm just going to sit back and with a smile on my face and watch you do it and see you graduate your own self. You know what I mean? Because it takes a while to learn how to confront an issue. Like, for instance, I use this as an example all the time. In AA, we go and do this thing called H&I, which is speaking to a large group of people.
Hospitals and institutions.
Yeah. Public speaking is a big fear for a lot of people. Addicts as well, right? But you're going to get up there and you're going to talk about something that you're actually passionate about. Addiction, getting better, so on and so forth. So why are we doing that? Because we're teaching you that you can overcome a fear without drinking, without using drugs. And when you get off the stage, you're going to be able to deal with the endorphin rush from confronting that fear without having to celebrate with drugs and alcohol. You're going to be fine in an abstinent way. And so that whole entire psychology, when you see somebody finish a set of steps and they go and do that public speaking piece, man, they get high. That's why we call it H&I. High, like as in hi, hello. High as in I'm high, and high as in hospitals and institutions. That's why it's called that. And you'll see people, it's a profound fucking change after they go and do that talk, because you're almost making the situation for them to confront something. And so when it comes to confronting food, like even me confronting my own food diet, I'm not as afraid of it today as I once was, because I knew before I was just going to be confronted. I just go fighting. Fuck it. They'll cut me off of everything. The coach will give me the meal plan. I don't have to think about a fucking thing. All I got to do is do what he says. And if I eat a Big Mac, that motherfucker's going to make me puke 5 times that day, because I'll be heavier on the scale. And they know. They're like, "What'd you eat last night? You didn't eat my meal plan." So, no, what the fuck did you eat?
But what about the things that we do, like truly love, like pierogies?
That's in my opinion, yeah, you truly love it, and it's something, it's an emotional tie to it, right? Do you truly love it because of how it tastes? Where does that taste factor come from? Where does, when you eat it, who did you eat it with?
Yeah.
Are you truly loving it?
She's me. She's the same thing as me when I'm talking about beer. Like, people are like, I love beer. Yeah, well, do you really love beer? Or do you love the people that were around you when you were drinking beer? Do you like being at the commercial? Do you like being in Blues on White? Because the reality is the beer is fucking killing you. You're an alcoholic. You're going to die. Like, eventually you're going to die from drinking. Laura's the same thing I am. She's like, abstinence to certain foods are probably better than allowing it in. Because once you go on that roller coaster, you're fucked, man. Like, you're just going to keep... I mean, the next day I was craving McDonald's again when I had my relapse. I was like, fuck, I'll go for some fucking chicken McNuggets. Shit.
Craving it right now.
Are you craving the food, or are you craving what you feel when you eat it first?
You know what I was you know what I was actually craving is the guilt afterwards. I needed to beat myself up again for doing it the first time. That's what it was. That's where I was at.
Yeah.
And then I realized in that moment, I was like, look at Justin, that's the outcome. It's like, if I get drunk today, I know I'm going to jail. Like we just said, that's the math, right?
But you won't go to jail if you go to McDonald's.
But I know I'm going to hate myself after. See, it's like this, I've heard people say in the meetings, and this is where you see them, that addictive personality change, where they're like, I could relapse and none of yous would know, but I would know. And then you're like, that's it. So it's the same thing with the Big Mac and all that shit. Yeah, I could eat it and not have to tell you guys, be like, that's my own secret shame, guilt. But the reality is this, I fucking know. That's what matters. That's what happened to me the next day when I was craving those chicken McNuggets. I was like, I don't want to eat that shit, really. What haven't I? And I went right away to my goal of 4. And I was like, fuck, you know what I'm missing today? I missed my humble time before I went out and worked out. Went and did it, and I was fine. Fucking chicken McNugget craving was gone. It was gone.
So what kind of resonates with me is when you were telling me this is, what is that person's, if you're looking at it just from like, an outsider perspective, not necessarily you, unless you want me to pick on you. But your interpersonal relationship, how is that? Is it healthy? You talk about all these goals, but then if you think about it, if say, a teenage girl, right?
Yeah.
They don't really have the education, the tool, especially, if their parents, have some kind of codependency issue or something.
Yeah.
And like most people do nowadays without even realizing, if you are stuck on your phone, like how many people, when you go to an appointment or go to a social setting, how many people are stuck on their phones?
Everybody.
Right? Like no one's even talking.
Yeah.
Like you can't even have a conversation with a person. Or when you're at a light and there's people on the crosswalk, how many people are looking down texting like, are you kidding me? Like you could get fucking smoked by a vehicle right now, and
Yeah.
you wouldn't even like, you would have no idea. You could be, the last thought that you would have is this text message or what you're liking on, you know, social media of some sort, right?
Yeah.
And so when I'm thinking about this is, how is that intrapersonal relationship with yourself, right? Because a lot of it stems down that you're always trying to compare yourself to others instead of, why isn't this person my comrade? Or, you know what I mean? Like, why aren't they my friend?
So I guess when it comes to the goal thing, it's about not resting upon your laurels from the day before, right? So like whatever I did yesterday doesn't matter. Today, this is the goal of just getting this done, right? And the only person that I'm really daring to compare with is just the fact that I got it done. It's me.
Yeah.
So it's no one outside of me.
But why do you have to compare? With that comparison, though, because I think, like, for me...
I guess what I'm saying is yesterday I got it done. I can get it done today, too.
Yeah, right? It's an encouragement.
And it's, and it's one of these things, too, where... It's an act. So this is the other thing that I've learned is that if I just say that I'm going to, like, okay, I love myself. Oh yeah, that's great that you said that to yourself. Probably mean it, but have you physically shown it to yourself? Because your mom can tell you that she loves you. She probably does, but she reinforces it by hugging you. See, there's a there's a physicality there, and we all, same thing when you're a baby, you know, suckling a breast. That is a part of a physical connection towards something of love. Okay, like, and that's intuition. So what I'm trying to reproduce in these goals is saying between the humbling, which is like giving it up basically in the morning. That's okay. You're in charge, but I trust you. You know, that's fine. And then the physical piece to that, I'm showing myself that I'm here in order to show love, like it's my hug. Right? This is what I'm doing. I'm not here to hurt myself, which I would do fighting all of the time when I was working. If I didn't injure myself working out, I didn't fucking work out that week. You know what I mean? Like there had to be an injury. So today it's like go in, get this stuff done, feel good. And then from there, I know that my emotional stability is in check. It's in place. And I'm less likely to blow up at somebody, right? I'm less likely to like have to go back tomorrow and be like, you know what, man? You know what, Laura? I was a real asshole and I didn't mean to be at this time. I've done it. You know, I'm not perfect. But with the physical piece that's like the physical, how would I say it? Like working out or whatever, I'm less likely to implicate my environment in a negative way. Right? Because I've shown myself right away. It is more of an encouragement piece, saying this is what I should do today. This is what I probably need to do today. I've seen benefit from it, and it works.
When you're working out, are you working out to look better? Or are you working out for your mental health?
I'm working out just to feel healthy.
Okay.
That's it.
Because a lot of
shallow.
Well, a lot.
Well, I'm insecure.
But does it come down from how is your relationship with yourself, right? If you're comparing yourself to others all the time, how do you have a healthy relationship with yourself? So if you're comparing yourself and you're working out all the time, you want to look good so you can please others. That's a codependency.
Yeah,
right?
That's right. It
all stems down that. Like there's so many things that are involved.
Yeah.
Like, 16-year-old girl, if she doesn't have a healthy, relationship with herself, and all of these, there's factors in, girls from school or bullying, or there's skinnier ones that boys, have crushes on her or below like this other girl better, and then she starts eating a certain way, right? Yeah. To fit into, maybe she wants to get skinny or whatever, or starts wearing makeup. Like even 12-year-olds nowadays, why the fuck are you wearing makeup? Like I didn't start to wear makeup until I was 18. Like I could just give two shits, but that's just my personality. Like I don't care. Right. Well,
then I think like you were saying, how does a 16-year-old girl get these 4 goals kind of thing? And so obviously here on the podcast, because it's our job, is to be very blatant verbally, right? But it's one of these things. Kenny and I have talked about it before, where you can be an example just by practicing, okay? And by doing that, so like for instance, when I look for a mentor, right? What am I looking for? I'm looking for something that they possess that I don't have. Mm-hmm. And when I find that, I go and get it by saying, would you mentor me? Yeah. Right? And then when they do that, then I'm going to learn something from them. So the goal of 4, right? All I'm going to do is I'm just going to practice that. I mean, obviously here on the podcast, like I said, we're pretty blatant about it because that's what we talk about. It's what we, the big part of the show. So when we're out in public, though, the whole point of it is just to practice and show by practicing it. You know what I mean? If you like a part of this, okay, well, ask me why I'm doing it, just like you did. Why are you working out? I'm only working out to feel healthy. I used to work out to be competitive. Yeah. And when I worked out to be competitive, I'd fucking hurt myself. Today, I just want to be able to go to the doctor and he gives me, he does his little thing and he says, you know what? You're doing pretty good. Your weight's a little bit big, but everything else is okay. Let's do this with you,
but
right?
Why is weight, like numbers itself, right? And if you're
obesity's obesity.
Well,
right?
yeah, but I mean, like, you can still be somewhat, how do I put this? We in society here, like, you're too fat, you're too skinny, this should be your BMI, blah, 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 like all these things. When it comes down to it, I think if healthy interpersonal relationships, like if you are cool with yourself, right? And, you're on your game with everything. I like to call it this. You ever hear that book, Tools for Titans?
No, I haven't.
So it's like, let's be this Titan, right? Like, if you're, inside, you're good with yourself and you're focusing on all of these other things, then I think just that alone, it just comes naturally, right?
So I agree with the labels piece. I know that's like I agree with that because I was called fat as a kid and all this stuff as well. But the reasoning why I go to the weight piece is, one, my back hurts because of my weight right now. My knees hurt because of my weight. I'm not losing weight because I give two fucks what people honestly think about me by looking at me. The reason why I want it is because I don't want my back to hurt anymore. I don't want my knees to hurt anymore. That's why. I don't like the fact that when I sleep at night, my neck is so thick I can choke myself out. Right? But that's the truth, right? That's sleep apnea, man. Like that's what happens. The fact of the matter is, it has nothing to do with like what the weight says on the scale. What it has to do with is I'm fucking hurting. Like, I hurt because of my weight.
I think what I'm trying to get at is, just the interpersonal relationship. What I'm speaking about here is it has to do with, everything in life. And then, the externals, our relationship with that's our interpersonal relationship. So with food, right? Why is it that we eat the way we do? Like, why do you eat this way, right? Where does it come from? Where does it stem from? What are you associating with that maybe you can divide it between situation and a physicality or a person itself, right? And, where does that stem from? And like all these questions you have to ask yourself. Great questions, yeah. Right? So just to understand where everything stems from. Like if I... the other day, or was it last week? I went to the Italian Center and... I went and I bought some biscotti and a cookie on a regular basis. I don't fucking eat that. Like, you catch me with a cookie, like that's something like alarming, right? And so, when I bought it afterwards, I wrote on the receipt and I was like, oh, what are my emotions that are tied to this? Why did I do this? What is going on? Where is this relationship that I'm having right now with my food, with my emotions, with even my finances, with everything that's involved in just going to the store and buying this food that's actually detrimental for my health? And I know what these products are doing to my body, but yet I still want to purchase it. And I did eat it. I'm not gonna lie, like whatever,
well, why would you throw it away?
Yeah,
I mean,
like
shit, we come from
dunked into my tea,
I'm fucking poor, man. I'm not buying something to throw it away.
Honestly, though, when I buy stuff like that, sometimes there's a lot of people experiencing homelessness in my area. Hey, do you care for this? Do you like this stuff? Do you want to try it? It's at that point, it's you're building a relationship with that person, not necessarily as healthy. Giving them food in that sense. That is, I know that it's detrimental, but. Then, the emotions tie in. Hey, you're doing something that's genuinely sincere for the other person, but yet at the same time, you're like, I'm just pawning this food off on them, right? Like there's so many areas or ways to look at to understand just that relationship with food, and then like what you can do about it, and where it, moving forward, what how to understand it, where if there's a fear attached to it. So there's so many things you have to ask yourself. And like, stepping back, like I wrote here, codependency on fast food, right? Same thing. Where, codependency, all it is we are distracting ourselves from loving ourselves.
Oh, for sure.
Right? That's all it stems down to. Like,
we talked about it last month where I would get
that was so good.
I would get really, really close to figuring out who the fuck I was. And then guess what? Justin would get into a relationship. Well, why would Justin get into a relationship? I was tired of looking at myself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then am I fixed? No, I'm not fucking fixed. I'm still running the same old bullshit that I was running.
Yeah.
But the only reason why I'm in this relationship is because I actually didn't want to fix anything. And it took me a really long time to get to a place where I took a year or two off from relationship. Actually, I was discerning for the priesthood in the Catholic faith. So I was abstinent. I was obedient to the church. I lived the values of those vows. And it changed me profoundly because I actually found it gave me the ability or the time to just like not have to worry about a relationship. And it allowed me to take that moral mirror and look and really assess. As much as I did so with the steps and it saved my life, it was nothing like the profoundness of taking time over a year or two. You know, I really, really needed that. And it worked. I mean, I'm not nearly as fucking run riot crazy as I used to be. Like that was pretty nuts. I think just to wrap up, because we're close to it. Well, we're at our hour now. But I think the last thing I'd like to really touch on is why is it so fucking hard when you research diet, nutrition, all of this stuff. You go on the internet or wherever you go, there's so much bullshit. And it almost seems overwhelming when you look at all of this and you see it all and you're like, well, where the fuck do I even start? One, I would kind of like to speculate that the purpose, and I'm not sure if I'm right or not, but they're selling an agenda of a food diet. They're trying to sell you should eat this, or you should eat Atkins or whatever, right? So like, why the fuck are they doing that? I mean, first off, we get hit with fucking McDonald's killing us by saying, hey, come eat this bullshit. And then fucking Atkins is saying, oh, you'll see results in like 3 or 4 weeks, but then you can't. I mean, nobody can sustain a diet for the rest of their life. You need a food plan.
So I'm just like, there's so much to it. I'm like, Matt, I could talk to you for like an entire day on this. But no, like in my opinion, how I see it is everyone trying to sell you something. They're trying to make money, right? That's all it is when it comes down to it, right? Financially
fucking
independence
bastards.
of some sorts, right? Make dicks. Well, they're trying to make money off of you. And then guess what? Then you're sick. So it's like, hey, I'm helping out the health system here. Because now you're sick, right? Now I'm helping out the pharmaceuticals or companies because now, the doctor's prescribing you this.
We're all one in the same.
Right? For me, that's, studying dietetics. Well, guess what? You guys, these industries is helping me be employed. Right? It's fucked up, but it's true.
Yeah.
Right? People, addicts, right? People, in the industry where, alcoholics or, people that are producing, whatever kind of drugs,
Suboxone and methadone, fucking Purdue.
They're helping you have a job that you have today. They're helping you perceive what your passion is because it's kind of like, it's really fucked up how the world works. It's like pros and cons, but they always have to weigh each other out.
Yeah.
And so with these bullshit diets, what at first I want to start with is labels. I don't believe in labels. Like, when it's like a person's like, I'm vegan. I remember this.
You're gonna get us sued right now, but keep going.
Well, I'll keep it. No, so there was this one girl.
Hashtag vegan.
I'm wearing brown shoes. I'm vegan.
Well, there was this one girl that I knew. She's like, yeah, I'm vegan or whatever. And then a year later, she's eating pork ribs. And I'm like, fuck. I'm like, you cannot label something that is intimate and personal that's specifically for yourself. So if you're vegan, if you're practicing veganism, another thing is too, if you're practicing veganism and saying you're atheist in that, all of these diets are usually stemmed from some sort of religion. Right? So I have family members that are 7-Day Adventists. Well, they practice veganism. But then they're labeling themselves that they're vegan so that it's more convenient when you go out to a restaurant or go to a store. But then when you go to the store and you buy all this vegan shit, is it actually healthy for you? No. Now they're just labeling it vegan because that's the new fad, and then all these people are eating that. How many? I know so many vegetarians or vegans that are overweight.
But see, then again, though, the fad becoming got better. So I was vegan for a while. On the doctor, that was a suggestion for me. Outside of that, though, the fad, though, what it produced was better vegan food. I mean, we had, like, veggie dogs sucked shit back in the day. They were fucking gross. Gross as, hey, you might as well eat cardboard. Now, I mean, there's veggie burgers you can't even tell that aren't a real burger. Like you just can't tell. But I agree with you. The food itself, may not be the healthiest choice for you.
No, but it's weird because it's like, well, and then you get the people like, I'm vegan and I don't want to eat animals. Like, you guys are torturing animals, and you hear like all these things. I'm just going to be straight up front. I have been eating a plant-based diet for 20 years. Yeah. I do eat fish, but mostly it's plant-based. I'm eating whole foods. It's not about labeling who you are in a sense what your tie to food is, because you can never do that. You can never put a label on something, in my opinion, that, you know, you share an intimate personal relationship with. It just doesn't work, right? It only works, I find, you know, if, say, gluten-free. If you have celiac disease, which is an autoimmune disorder, it's got to have, you know, gluten-free on it, because this person can die. You know, vegan on it for cultural or religious purposes, absolutely. But now it's kind of like blown out of proportion. So like even my aunt, and she'll probably end up listening to this and be like, "Yay, Laura!" But she always says she's vegan. But, you know, her vegan ties is because she's, you know, religious. She practices that in her religion, you know, and that is something that's really important to her. That's part of her interpersonal relationship. Not all these fads, people don't understand what their relationship with food is, that they're just eating it for the sake that everyone else is. And then that's tying back. That's like a more, and if you look at it from like a broad spectrum, it's another codependency thing.
Well, and that's, we talked about, so Kenny was talking about intermittent fasting. So I intermittent fast, but I intermittent fast on a religious basis. It has nothing to do with the fad. Catholics do this. That's what Catholics intermittent fast. And the reason why we do that, it's a buildup into a postinea. That's what it's for. It's for a long journey on a 48-hour fast. So you basically start off on an 8-hour fast, and then the next week you go to a 10-hour, then a 12-hour, then a 14, then a 16, and then from the 16 you make the great big leap of faith, so to say, air quotes, because you can't see that on the podcast. And then you go into a 48-hour, and then you go into a 48-hour fast, doing a meditation practice for the entire time. Right? Buddhists do the same thing. Yeah. So they actually they do intermittent fasting as well. And so do yogis, but they can go on for weeks and weeks, yogis. Catholics aren't that crazy.
But the messed up thing too is now they're labeling it that, right? Yeah. But just, I understand where it comes from, so that, you know, but there's a difference between labeling it so you're understanding what that practice is, that's super important to that person, that relationship with that person, as opposed to labeling it as it's fucking cool. Right?
Like now everybody's intermittent fast. Before it used to be eat 7 meals a day. Now it's like, don't eat anything. Yeah. And it's like, you know what? Again, it's personal with the diet thing. It's a fucking process. Journeys get you to, like, you don't know where, but a process there's an end to that with that solution. That's why I look at things more of a process than in a journey. In a process, I can learn just as much as I would if I was walking on a journey. I just find that there's a solution, like a discernible solution at the end of a process. I have a difficult time with the ideology of a journey because, well, that's just me. Labels again.
Well, I think so too. I just want to touch kind of on like a holistic kind of practice.
Sure.
So I speak to an elder on a regular basis, and, you know, she's always, you know, asking, you have to ask yourself every single day, what did you do for yourself if you look at it from the medicine wheel? So you start off with physical. What did you do for yourself that was physical? Emotional, mental, spiritual, and then you always want to add in social and financial, in this case, because I am a student, academic, right? What am I doing in all those areas that are helping me out? Because if one, just like, you know, you're thinking about the 3 brains, if your heart, brain, and your stomach, if one is being is lacking, the other 2 are overcompensating, well, your spirit's getting ahead of yourself, right? So in the medicine wheel, the holistic kind of practice to it too is, if all those things aren't being met every single day when you're checking in with yourself, and one is overcompensating for the other, you know, then how are you going to be able to address that? So why I'm saying this is, if you're looking at from, you know, what are the answers for all these, you know, fad diets that are out there and all these things on the TV or whatnot. If you are focusing, in my opinion, and how my perspective, how I'm saying this is, if you are looking at it from a holistic approach and you're being able to educate yourself in all these things that, align with your morals, values, and beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you're kind of looking more into it than what a person's just dictating to you, right? Because everyone wants to be a dictator. A true leader is not a dictator.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? And, it's just helping. It's encouraging, and most importantly, it's about community, right? You're helping that community. And so with that, if you're helping yourself, you can also help your community. And so when you're looking at all these fad diets, you have to ask yourself what aligns with your morals, values, and beliefs. And most importantly, what is that relationship? How does that relationship resemble, or how does it affect you, or is it going to affect you, and understand it, right? And so, because if we do this every single day and, focus on that instead of focusing on distracting ourselves, then we're able to figure out not a diet, but a lifestyle. It is a lifestyle, right? Because it's an everyday thing. And so putting the word diet as attached to it, then that becomes, something that is very abstract, is an abstract idea that, you're looking at more of, I'll say it's an objective. So, if it's thrown out there that it's a diet, that's the only thing that is available to you that's going to help you, instead of you looking at it like subjective thinking, right? So then it's like, well, no, it doesn't align with everything like this if I'm understanding from, a broader kind of perspective, right? And so then it's starting to eliminate that is a diet and more changing into a lifestyle, and what is meeting your needs. What is that relationship that you're going to build on? How is that going to affect you emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, just eating this food, right?
Yeah. That's kind of, we actually, there was Kenny and I were talking a little while ago about meditation. I was like, are you meditating, or anybody out there, are you meditating for like you? Or are you, like, if you're meditating for calmness, okay? So you want to be calm. Yeah, okay. So when I meditate about calm for me, I feel like I'm in an ocean and I'm not getting anywhere. But if I meditate about calmness to the environment, now I'm contributing to the stream. And when I contribute to the stream, I no longer feel overwhelmed in this vast ocean that is, I'm trying to calm down my little island. No. I'm just contributing calmness to the stream, as opposed to so it's not so overwhelming, right? I feel like I almost wade into the water. It's the same ideology. Same thing with the goals of 4. That question at the end of the day, how did you love yourself today? Did you show yourself that you loved yourself? The being of service piece at the end, that's your financial. You have to be of service. You have to give a service, provide a service towards society in order for other things to come. It's a relationship that's a back and forth, right? But did you take care of yourself before you walked out the fucking door? That's you gotta make sure that that's a priority.
Absolutely.
And it's not about, as much as it's about you, it's about fitting into the stream of life again. And we've always said that on Life's terms, where this is a show about contributing to the stream of life. And that's always been that's the mission statement of the podcast, is that. So I totally feel that philosophy that you're bringing to the table. It's it fits with the show for sure. Just who we are, even as people, Kenny and I.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, that's over an hour, believe it or not. So we're gonna wrap this up. If you wanna read the end, Kenny, that'd be fucking amazing.
Absolutely. Please subscribe and share with all your friends. You can find the After the Show blog at www.lifeonlifetermspodcast.com. Please become a Pride member at your soonest convenience and drop us your email. I'd like to thank the lovely Lindsay for coming on today.
Laura.
Oh my fuck.
Oh wow, man.
A million.
Let me ask you before we go, where are you going after this? Are you going to write a book? You're going to get a podcast? What the fuck are you doing?
You know what? So many people ask me if I'm going to write a book. I read a lot of philosophy, psychology, and nutrition. And I'd like to kind of integrate all of them together.
Whatever you're doing, you let us know, and however we can help, we'll help.
Sure. Yeah.
Do you want to get a podcast going? Shit, I'm fucking all down for that. We'll talk.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a beautiful Thursday, guys.
Thank you.
Bye for now.